You probably think your dog is ignoring you because they are being stubborn or disobedient, or maybe they just don't care enough to listen. But the truth is far more extraordinary than that. And when you understand what science has actually found about how dogs process your commands, the way you look at that moment when your dog turns away from you will change completely. Most people have no idea that what looks like ignoring is actually one of the most sophisticated cognitive processes happening in the animal kingdom, which means they are missing something profound happening right in front of them every single day. Your dog isn't ignoring you. They are making a decision, and that decision reveals more about their intelligence than obedience ever could. You might have heard that dogs are just motivated by food and praise, that they are simple creatures who respond to basic conditioning. But don't make the mistake of thinking that explains what is happening when your dog hears you call their name, looks directly at you, and then turns away. In 2018, researchers at Duke University's Canine Cognition Center, led by Dr. Brian Hare, published findings that stopped the animal behavior community in its tracks. They discovered that dogs possess what scientists call selective social attention, a cognitive ability that allows them to evaluate the social value of responding to a cue versus pursuing an alternative behavior. Here's what that means in plain language. Your dog is running a cost-benefit analysis in real time. When you call them and they are sniffing something interesting, their brain is weighing the social reward of coming to you against the informational reward of continuing to investigate. And here's the mechanism that makes this extraordinary. Dogs evolved this ability specifically through 15,000 years of living alongside humans. They developed neural pathways that prioritize social evaluation over simple stimulus-response conditioning. Wild wolves don't do this. Captive wolves don't do this. Only domestic dogs have brains wired to constantly assess the social dynamics of every interaction with humans. What scientists discovered next about how dogs use their memory to predict your reactions, we'll get to later in this video. And when you hear it, it will hit differently than you expect. Think about what happens when you call your dog and they don't come immediately. For years, people called this disobedience and left it at that. But researchers started asking a different question. What is actually happening in the dog's brain during those 3 seconds between hearing the command and deciding whether to respond? A 2020 study from the University of Vienna's Clever Dog lab measured cortisol levels, heart rate variability, and prefrontal cortex activity in dogs during command situations. Here's what they found. When dogs heard a familiar command in a context where they had previously been punished for not responding, their cortisol spiked and heart rate became irregular, but they still performed the cost-benefit analysis before responding. When they heard the same command in a relaxed context, cortisol remained stable, but the evaluation period was longer. Here's the part that stops most people in their tracks. The dogs weren't evaluating whether they understood the command. They were evaluating you, not just any human, specifically your emotional state in that moment. They were reading your tone, your body language, the environmental context, and cross-referencing it with their memory of what happened the last time they responded to you in a similar situation. If this is changing the way you see that moment when your dog pauses before coming to you right now, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. We cover what dog behavior actually means, not what we assume it means. Up next is one of the strangest discoveries of all. When you get frustrated and your dog seems to shut down. Science shows something is happening that most people never notice. Scientists call it referential looking, and it is one of the most sophisticated social behaviors in the animal kingdom. Here's what is extraordinary. Dogs do the exact same thing human infants do when they are uncertain about how to respond to a new situation. But oh no, why with humans they have a bond with? When researchers at Yale University's Canine Cognition Lab tested dogs in ambiguous situations, showing them novel objects or creating scenarios where the correct response wasn't obvious, the dogs consistently looked back at their familiar human's face only when that specific person was present, not when strangers were in the room, not when other dogs were nearby. They're checking your face for emotional cues with a precision that took thousands of generations to develop. That's why your dog might refuse a command from you, but immediately obey the same command from a trainer. It is not about respect or dominance. It is about relationship data. Your dog has thousands of micro interactions stored in their memory about you specifically, and they're using that database to predict what will happen if they respond versus what will happen if they don't. Most people assume that when a dog turns away from a command, it means they didn't hear it or don't understand it. But scientists discovered something that changes that assumption entirely. It's not just whether your dog responds to your command. It's how they position their body, where they direct their gaze, and the timing of their response. When you call your dog and they are genuinely engaged in something more valuable than your attention, they show what researchers call conflict behavior. Their ears rotate toward you while their head stays oriented to the other stimulus. Their tail position drops slightly. They might lick their lips or yawn. When you call your dog and they have evaluated that responding carries social risk, based on your tone or their memory of previous interactions, they show appeasement signals. They lower their body posture, avoid direct eye contact, and approach, slowly or not at all. And here's what makes it even more remarkable. Other dogs can read this. If you have multiple dogs and one refuses a command while showing conflict behavior, the others will often maintain their position too because they are reading the same environmental and social cues. The speed of the tail wag carries meaning too. A slow, low wag during a non-response means uncertainty. A frozen tail means they are waiting for more information from you. So your dog isn't just ignoring your command. They are talking to you, and they have been doing it every single day, waiting for you to listen. There's one final discovery that ties all of this together. And once you hear it, everything else starts to make sense. You are not just your dog's owner. And there is a neurochemical reason for that. In 2015, a study published in the journal Science made headlines around the world. Researchers found that when dogs and their owners gazed into each other's eyes, both the human and the dog showed significant increases in oxytocin, the same hormone responsible for mother-infant bonding in humans, the same chemical cascade that creates the most powerful attachment bond in human biology. Let that sit for a moment. Your dog's brain releases the same chemistry that humans use to bond with their children. And when you look back at them, yours does too. This is not sentiment. This is not anthropomorphism. This is documented biological reciprocity. And remember, what we talked about at the very beginning, how dogs evolved selective social attention, specifically through living with humans. This is what that evolution was building toward. You are the source of the social information they evaluate when deciding whether to respond. You are the face they check for emotional cues when they are uncertain. You are the relationship database they consult before every decision. You are the trigger for the same bonding neurochemistry that connects human mothers to their infants. Your dog doesn't see an authority figure. They don't see a pack leader. They see a bonded partner whose emotional state and behavioral patterns have become the primary lens through which they navigate their entire world. They see you, and too. Then that is everything.